Scegli compagno topsho. And let's do the 4 limitless contemplations and really do them with feeling, because they're very, very important. When we look at them, they actually are everything we need. So may all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semchen damche dewa tang dewe ju tang den pa ju chik, dungal tang dungal chichu tang trawa ju chik, dungal mepe dewa tampa tang mindrawa ju chik, nerin chak tang ni tang trawe tang nom chempo lane pa ju chik. Okay, so tonight we're going to, for our final session tonight, we're going to look at the deep implications of missed opportunities. Okay, a very important subject. And the holiday period is coming up, and then I'm going to be away later in the month in Australia. So I'm going to only come back on the 17th of January. So we'll only restart towards the end of January, about a week after that. So what I'd really like all of you to do during the holiday period is try and catch up on lots of things that you don't understand. Today, Nadine was talking to me and she said to me, this person wants this and this person wants that. And I said, you know what? I've really done all those talks over since the beginning of COVID, and they're all there. If somebody wants meditation, there's the beginner's meditation, there's the more advanced meditation, there's Guru Yoga, there's the explanation of the Guru of Guru Rinpoche Puja. They're all the different topics, from karma to more deep topics, to looking at spiritual namtas, to absolutely many, many, many topics. So those topics you're not sure of, or you missed, or you come on a Tuesday and you miss the Mondays, try and get those during the holiday period and watch them, because it's really, really worth it when you could do it slowly and really digest something and don't miss the opportunity. And also remember, everybody, the center still needs a little bit of your support during the holiday period, because we've still got to sustain all the expenses that we normally get when the groups are going. So if you can, that'll be lovely for when you do take the teachings. Even if you give a small little donation for the center, it really does sustain the center. But tonight, I want to look at really the deep implications of missed opportunities, which is really important. So I'm going to start off with 2 little stories and then 2 experiences I had. So the first one was in answer to the observation that some people say they do not meditate because they're too busy. The Dalai Lama told the following story. A monk keeps promising his students that he will take them on a picnic, but he's always too busy to take them on the picnic. One day, they see a procession carrying a corpse. Where is he going? Where is the corpse going? The monks asked his student. On a picnic. Okay, so don't wait until you die, until you miss that opportunity to do the things you really need to do. And hello, Vera, I'm happy to see you after being away so long after your mom's death. So I hope you're okay. The second story that I want to give you is a story called The Miser. A miser turned his riches into gold, made an ingot, is that how you say it? An ingot of it, and buried it in a certain place where he might be said also to have deposited his heart and spirit. Every day he went to gloat over his treasure. A laborer watched him and guessed what he was up to, and digging up the ingot, carried it off. Sometime later, the miser returned to the spot and found the empty hole. He began to moan and tear out his hair after all that he had done to actually get that gold. Don't despair like that, friend. For when you had all that gold, you really didn't have it, and you certainly didn't do anything with it. Take a stone and put that in the earth instead, and just imagine that it is your gold. Just imagine that it is your gold. It will serve the same purpose. For as far as I can see, even when the gold was there, you made no use of it and lost every opportunity you might have had with it. Now that's us. And the gold is actually our real spiritual opportunity, which I'm going to explain to you in 1 minute, because I think it's really, really important. But when I went on my long retreat, I was looking in my diary, and it was so interesting because I looked at my first appointment that I had with Taisitu Rinpoche when I just arrived at the monastery. And the first question he asked me, which was so interesting, was, when did you arrive? Now, this was the Saturday, and I had arrived there on the Wednesday. So I said, I arrived on Wednesday. He says, then you only have 6 months less 3 days for your practice. How profound. 6 months less 3 days for your practice. Very interesting and very profound that he would have said that to me right at the beginning of meeting me. In other words, don't waste not even an hour of these 6 months. And the other thing that actually happened to me was that after that time in 2013, I was kicked out of the monastery, and I was looking at my beautiful diary. I used to always keep notes. And the person who helped me, Fiona, you'd be very pleased, was Lama Tenem. And I was looking at all my notes of my relationship with Lama Tenem. And what happened was, when I got kicked out of the monastery and I was staying at the Karmapa's monastery because of the permits, he said that I could phone him. So I used to often phone him and bemoan my plight. So one day I said to him, I had him on the phone, and I said, well, dear Lama Tenem, maybe I should just stay at Karmapa's monastery and work in this mandala. And this was his answer, which is so interesting and very relevant for now. He said, Melanie, maybes become obstacles, and just settle and take positive action. Don't wonder with maybe, because all of those become obstacles for your practice. Very interesting. And Gambopa said to Dusum Kiempa, who was the first Karmapa, after he told him about a dream where someone taught him some Dharma, he didn't know. And the Gambopa said to him, did you like it? I did, replied Dusum Kiempa. Don't you know, said Gambopa, everything is an illusion. If you cling to illusions as truth, they become obstacles. Whatever occurs in your mind, don't embrace it, even if good. Don't reject it, even if bad. It is non-dual. If you don't know this, when something undesirable happens, it will become an obstacle, and you will miss your opportunity. Okay, which is really extremely important. Oh, I've got everybody from all over the world tonight. So missed opportunities. Hello, Kim, it's nice to see you. Amazing 2 words of missed opportunities. And what I realized is, when I was looking at this topic, when we get older and nearer to death, that is when we start reflecting on a lot of missed opportunities, things we didn't sometimes even know were. And tonight, I want to reflect on missed opportunities in terms of our relative, temporary, earthly embodiments, and in terms of our ultimate spiritual goals, which only become apparent once we're on a spiritual path. There's a lot of difference between these two. But let's start off with the definition opportunity, which a lot of you know because I use it a lot. Opportunity means open, up, portal, port, to unity with our true natures. Opportunity, open portal to unity with our true natures. Such an important word. Actually, it should be the goal of whole of our lives, relative and ultimate, but people don't realize this. So actually, any opportunity in our relative lives might be an open door to uniting with our true selves. We might not have known it at the time, but often with missed opportunities in our relative daily life, we might miss one chance and we might get others again, even if we are, if we are totally aware. Now, I've often dealt with people over the years in therapy who've lost someone very close to them, a husband, a spouse, a partner, a friend, a child even. And in private, they've said to me, many, many times I've heard this, not once, they've said to me, you know what, Melanie, I really feel a lot of remorse about this relationship. I don't think I gave sufficient understanding. I don't think I gave sufficient compassion. I think I was very selfish in this relationship. And I tell them it's too late to rectify that opportunity. But, and this is the important thing about relative missed opportunities. If you have enough remorse and enough awareness of what you didn't do, what you could have done, but you didn't do, if you have that awareness and you really ask with all your heart, you will usually get a chance with another person. Also, the good news is that when you've had a relationship with somebody that then dies and you haven't fulfilled it completely, which often happens to a lot of us, okay, it's also very, very useful and helpful to that deceased person on their journey when we're able to say, you know what, I really realize that I didn't put in what I should have, that I could have put in more, that I could have been more understanding. And I'm really going to try and get another chance to make that right. Now, that statement is like musical notes to the person, because where they are, and we'll talk about after death and missed opportunities, but where they are working out their lives, especially if they miss the beginning bardos, they're working out their lives. So because they're in a mental body, they really can be tuned in. And I always tell people, carry on your journey and don't be too tuned in about what's happening. But hearing that means that they served a real purpose with you. And that is extremely, extremely helpful. And we can tell them how much we really wish to change. And the use of that opportunity is an inner change, which then leads us further on the path. And that's exactly how causes and conditions come together. It's an amazing thing. And I thought in my Monday group yesterday, I said to them, I'm going to start the year off with talking about the causes and conditions and how they come together, because we know that. We think, oh, I know what karma is. You put negative things out, you get negative things back. You put positive things, you accumulate merit. Not so simple. The causes and conditions that we put together are very deep. And those conditions will come together to a point, most times, as long as there's a real motivation to change. And the main purpose of our being here in samsara is to dissolve those negative karmic imprints and get off the wheel of life. Now, last week we were talking about on that wheel how, we were talking about how your delusive thoughts plus your volitional action leads to all the circumstances of what you've got in this embodiment, how you look, how you are, the family circumstances. And then we come to the next four, which are feeling, craving, grasping, and becoming. And we were talking about how when you let those feelings go far, they then become craving, and then they become grasping, and then they become becoming, which is when we get into a realm and we really become what we don't want to really be, and we suffer a lot. But maybe right now, it's really important tonight to contemplate that mind changer called the preciousness of human life, okay? Lots of you have been really in your 4 mind changes pondering the preciousness of human life. Yeah, I know it's really, really precious. But we don't get to realize. We know, but we don't get to realize how precious an opportunity this human life is. If you look at all the other realms, they don't have the opportunity to unite with their true natures. But we as human beings do. And here I'm going against what I keep teaching. We have the human reasoning capacity, the human thinking capacity, which obviously, if you overuse your human capacity and you actually don't use your spiritual, your true nature of mind, that's not going to be good. But if we look at the human life, that reasoning power of the human SEM is really a very important gift that we have, as long as we don't just use it and leave out the nature of mind. That's the important thing. And most of us have the opportunity to access our true natures, which are aware of everything. What this opportunity is. Why are you sitting here tonight? What are you doing here? Something in each of you said, either you want to see my face before I disappear, or something said to you, somebody said to me on the phone, I want to hear this missed opportunities. I really do, because I want to see what it's all about. Well, when we're aware, we know why we're here, how it all works. The delusion of the movie that we're living in, that we're paying most of our attention to. And we know with that being miracles, like flying, not being bound by the elements, which these great masters really have. And I've been teaching these namtas, and I see what they're really able to do. Of course, we can. So at death, maybe the biggest question we have to ask ourselves is, did I fully use the spiritual opportunity that I was given? Or is my human life one big missed opportunity? And really, I see and counsel a lot of people who have a death sentence over them. And I'm going to tell you what they do when they've got that death sentence, because many of them really, really, really are trying to bargain with their lives. They're trying to say, many people that come to me who've got really deep cancers and things like that say to me, Melanie, I want to live some more. And then I go, why? What's the reason? When I ask them that, they're quite shocked that I can even ask that question. But I can say, give me the reason why you don't want to die now. Give me the reason. And they go, I want to see my daughter married. I want to look after my grandchildren. I want to have this relationship. I want to travel. I want to do this. And I go, listen, if you want to convince the universe to let you stay, you're going to have to find other motivation. They go, what do you mean? I say, these things you've just told me about, these are the temporary, transient, I'm not saying you mustn't enjoy them, but those are the temporary, transient things, and you've done them already. So if you want to stay, you're going to have to put a motivation forward. You're going to have to say, listen, I need more time. I haven't achieved all my spiritual goals. I want to serve people in this way. You're going to have to put a completely and totally different motivation into practice if you want to stay. And I've told them that. And Tulku Urgent Rinpoche asks, what is the reason for misery and pain that every living being undergoes? What is the cause of samsara's delusion? And he says, it's nothing more than lacking the experience of our enlightened essence. He says, we ignore what is primordially present. We neglect what is continually present in us, which is our Buddha nature, and instead, immersed in confused emotions, we chase illusory aims that endlessly result in more deluded experience. And he says that's called samsara. And he says we've already done that. We've done all of that. We've brought up children, we've married people, we've had relationships, we've made money, we've endured poverty, we've done it all. He says, we've already done that for countless lifetimes. We've been kings and prime ministers and leaders and beggars and the whole bit in thousands of incarnations, okay? He says we've done that for countless lifetimes, life after life, death following rebirth. And he says, unless you take this opportunity while you are a human being, in precious human life, I'm adding, to realize what is fully possible, you'll continue in the future in the same deluded way and even more suffering because of the missed opportunity. It's very interesting. And he says, you have to learn that delusion never disappears by itself. You need to learn how to bring Buddha nature into your personal experience, train in it, and realize it. So I'm just going to give you another paragraph, then I'll stop, and then you can ask or chat. That's fine. But it's vital that we use every single opportunity to change repetitive imprints. The only time we can answer whether or not we missed an opportunity of our pressurized human life is if we are catapulted back into samsara to start all over again, but with not the same opportunity again, because we missed it. And with more problems, and a result, more problems because of the causes we set in motion. So when we miss relative samsaric opportunities, they are only true missed opportunities when we didn't see the underlying spiritual goal of what we were doing. Now, I just want to read you two little stories. One, I did tell you somewhere, but I think it's too relevant here. I have to read it to you again. It's such a beautiful, it's a true story, this. So it's absolutely amazing if we're talking about opportunities. And this was given by a man who worked with youths, with gang members who'd committed homicide. And this is the story he told. One 14-year-old boy in his program, had shot and killed an innocent teenager to prove himself to his gang. At the trial, the victim's mother sat impassively silent until the end, when the youth was convicted of the killing. After the verdict was announced, she stood up slowly and stared directly at him and stated, "I'm going to kill you." Then the youth was taken away to serve several years in the juvenile facility. After the first half year, the mother of the slain child went to visit his killer. I think we must tell this to Chris Harney's wife, maybe just to understand something, She went to visit his killer. He'd been living on the streets before the killing, and she was the only visitor he had had. For some time they talked, and when she left, she gave him some money for cigarettes. Then she started step by step to visit him more regularly, bringing food and small gifts. Near the end of his 3-year sentence, she asked him what he would be doing when he got out. He was confused and very uncertain, so she offered to help set him up with a job at a friend's company. Then she inquired where he would live, and since he had no family to return to, she offered him temporary use of the spare room in her home. For 8 months, he lived there, ate her food, and worked at the job. Then one evening, she called him to the living room to talk. She sat opposite him and waited. Then she started, "Do you remember in the courtroom when I said I was going to kill you?" "I sure do," he said. "I'll never forget that moment." "Well, I did," she went on. "I did not want the boy who could kill my son for no reason to remain alive on this earth. I wanted him to die. That's why I started to visit you and bring you things. That's why I got you the job and let you live here in my house. That's how I set about changing you. And that old boy, the killer, he's gone. He's gone. So now I want to ask you, since my son is gone and that killer is gone, if you'll stay here. I've got room and I'd like to adopt you if you let me." And she became the mother of her son's killer, the mother he never had. Now that story, when I read it, I have read it to you once before, but it's too relevant here for me not to read it. It's such an amazing story. It touches every part of my heart, because would she have missed an opportunity had she sat in her room mourning the loss of her only son and really in misery, instead of which she actually did find that that killer was gone. She helped the killer to go. And that is the most amazing opportunity. That kind of service would actually take you very, very far in the bardos and in your lifetimes and accumulating merit. So it's a really important story. And then one other short story, I've also read it once before, but these are very relevant. A learned scholar set forth on a long and difficult sea journey, desiring to impress the crew with his depths of learning. He would stop and question the simple sailors as they went about their duty. "Tell me, my good man," he would ask a sailor, "have you studied philosophy?" The sailor would answer, "Oh no, I'm just a simple sailor. I only know how to sail the ship from one shore to the other." The scholar would reply, "You poor man, you've wasted half your life." The following day would again question the sailor, "Well, have you studied geometry, my good man?" The sailor would reply again, "No, I'm sorry, sir. I just rig the sails and steer the ship." The scholar again would shake his head in despair and say only, "You poor fellow, dwelling in ignorance, you're wasting so much of his life." And day after day, the questions would go on. "Have you studied geometry, anthropology, zoology, psychology?" And the sailor could only shake his head in denial. One night, the ship foundered in a storm. The scholar anxiously watched the crashing waves and held tightly to the mast. The sailor approached the scholar and asked him, "Have you, my good man, by any chance studied swimology?" "Have you studied swimology?" In puzzlement, the scholar could only shake his head. "That really is too bad," said the scholar. "You've wasted your whole life, for the ship is sinking." Okay, now that's like us. we don't get the real aspect. So before I go on, and I want to do a meditation, before I go on, I just want to open up and see if anybody wants to comment on anything. Anybody?
Yeah. I find contemplation on missed opportunities quite interesting, because as I approach later years,
Yeah.
I find myself looking back, and not necessarily at missed opportunities, but perhaps they could be missed opportunities, but perhaps regrets or disappointments or things that have happened, and wanting to put them right. And I just, I sometimes don't know how to consider that. I mean, am I genuinely wanting to look at the missed opportunity, or am I indulging in a little bit of self-indulgence, sort of self-flagellation, saying, oh, poor me, oh, guilty?
Yeah, it depends how deep it is and who got hurt in it and what the meaning of it really is. Depends on all of that, okay?
Okay,
so
right.
Could you answer me that? I mean, when you say I have a regret, lots of people have regrets, but those regrets, we really have to look at those regrets and change them now. And that's why I was talking about your earthly experiences. I'm going to come at the end to real spiritual experiences when you offer them and you reject them, because those are really important. But of the regrets, don't you think that it's really important when you've got a regret, and if you can't put it right with another person, that you actually ask for the chance if you can't put it right with that.
Yeah, I've made that note of what you said, yes, to find another opportunity to do that good, or to not do something you did before. Yeah,
exactly. An opportunity to really use what you've got to change a lot of things for you and other people. Because remember, when the universe looks at us failing in relationships or failing in something, it's not because we're getting trapped into something and we're being tested. It's because our imprints have caused those circumstances, and now we have to win. Now, as you fail and as you miss the opportunity, it becomes more and more and more intense, and less chance. So the thing is, you can read your karmic tapestry by looking at those repetitive things that happen to you and knowing, I really need to change that. Even if I change it with the person, I need to be fully aware of it, and I need to change it with other people. And it's a very interesting thing, because very often, I mean, I always laugh. I also told you this experience once when I was doing it, but I had an art teacher at high school who really, if you weren't a great artist, which I wasn't, then she gave you a hard time. So as kids tend to do, we would all, congregate and chat in the art class, because it was like a free period type of thing. And she got so mad with us one day, she took 4 of us, brought us to the principal, and we had to sit out of the classroom for about 2 weeks before exams. And we had to sit in the vice principal's office. Now, years and years and years later, when I was already probably maybe I was a grandmother, definitely much older in my life, I met her in the car park, this teacher. Can you imagine? And I recognized her. She didn't know who the hell I was. I mean, it's so many years have gone by, but she actually, other than aging, looked exactly as she looked. And so I said to her, you know, her name was Miss Waldy at school. And I said, Miss Waldy, you know, I still remember what happened when you sent us to the corner and we were humiliated in the corner of the vice principal's office. And everybody came and said, why are you being punished? You know, we went through, and I said, when I see you, I can't help remembering that story. So she said, we talked a little bit and everything, and then off she went. And as she was walking down the car park, she turned around and she shouted across the car park, Melanie, do you forgive me for what I did? I mean, what a thing to happen. And I said, of course I do. And she went happily sauntering off after that. But you know, when you look at that, she was really aging rapidly. And that was her opportunity. When I told her that I'd really had a hard time from her, she got an opportunity to say sorry. Now, mostly, when you've really got deep remorse, you have to be very responsible, because sometimes we don't want to tell people that we don't like, that we're sorry for how we treated them. We want that hatred and anger to go on. But if we really want to clear our karmic history, that would be a missed opportunity.
Yeah, one requires a great commitment of complete honesty with oneself.
Absolutely. Now, can you do that? Can all of you do that? Can you be honest, knowing that by the time you come to the point of death, there's no more chance? Do you know that you can hardly play with karma in death, even after you miss the first 2 bardos? The karma is then cut and dry. You can't play with it. And when you're in a mental body, which you are in the 3rd bardo, that is the time that you see everything that you created. And it's too late to change that. The only thing we can do is ask a great being like Chenrezi or Amitabha if we can get to their pure land of the land of Devachen. But otherwise, there's nothing to be done about that missed opportunity. It has to be catapulted in. Yes, Eugene, please.
So the thing is like I agree somewhat, and then I also think that it also reaches a point when you've done your reflection and your contemplation and your meditation, and you've built habits and you've moved on. It's like Oprah said it well, or a guest of Oprah said it, if you hold on to anger, it's like putting your hand on somebody's shoulder and following them around and saying, I'm angry at you and I'm going to get you. And they basically lead you your whole life. And then they've forgotten completely and they're going and you are carrying. But I think it's the same with regret. The thing is, regret is also tying you to a person you no longer were. And also remember, yes, you did your bad actions, or you didn't have the most pristine behavior, and you need to take accountability for that. But also it takes 2 to tango. Their karma also mirrored you in their lives, and you were there to also teach them a lesson. There's an interplay that happens there. I'm not saying the one negates the other, but I think if you've asked your forgiveness, or if you can't ask for forgiveness, you've amended your ways and stuff, I think it's okay to stay in alignment with the universe or the right energies and stuff, but also to forgive yourself and to move on.
No, I think it is good, and I think you are the only one that can reflect things for yourself, because it's not about the other person here, it's about you. And so what I'm trying to say is that your spiritual opportunity is the chance to clear those imprints. That is what I keep on saying over and over again. We need to clear the imprints, because even if the imprints right now are not intervening in our lives, even if the imprints are not worrying us and they're forgotten and they're long gone in our lives, they are there. Now, when you look at a karmic tapestry, this is not like maybe in some of the religions that go, you've been a bad girl, so you better repent. It's nothing like that. It's because you want to clear the negativity so that the Buddha nature can actually manifest through you. Your highest nature can manifest through you. That's what you desperately want. You want.
But yeah, I think you just need to also be careful not to fall in a trap of self-loathing as well.
Absolutely, because self-loathing, I was telling somebody today, self-loathing and self-criticism is as bad as criticizing other people.
Yeah, because I think sometimes our Buddhists are very good at that. And we actually don't give ourselves enough credit as well for trying to be the good. So we try to be like, you get holier than thou at Christian level. And then sometimes I think us Buddhists like try to go like even shoot the lights out beyond. So I think we need to, I think we also need to sometimes just be kind to ourselves as well.
Yeah.
And show compassion to ourselves.
I agree. And I think you should always show compassion towards yourself. Hi, Kat. I think
Hey, Kath.
I think it's really,
Hello.
Are you okay, Kat? Are you okay?
Yeah, good. I'm good.
But I think that it's really important what you're saying. Both things are important. But here, I'm trying to say it's really, really, really important to look at things. Because once I've just been talking about death like that, then let me finish what I wanted to say. That I've said that the only thing that goes with you at death is your mind. Everything else stays behind. So if the samsaric part of the mind, the human mind, which I've said also has reasoning, which is really a good thing. But if Sem is your conditioned, if Sem is your conditioning, like we've got friends at the moment that we haven't seen for some time and they live overseas, but the man is really in a coma state. And both of them, the wife and the man, neither of them believe in anything spiritually. They don't believe in anything. So it's all focused on this illness and getting better from this illness. There's no input of any other nature. It's the pure Sem, the human mind, that is dealing with this. And it drives me absolutely mad because I really want to explain to her the things that she can do for him while he's in a coma. You could do masses of things for people. But, you know, that is a missed opportunity. But if people are not ready, they won't do it. But if your samsaric mind, Sem, is the thing you are conditioned to, you will definitely miss the first bardo, because the first bardo is where you wake up into the clear light. Most of us will miss the first bardo because it's really difficult. You have to have progressed quite a lot. And the second bardo, the bardo of Dharmata, where you see your true nature in front of you, is absolutely unbelievable. But many people miss that if they've got conditioning in themselves. So they miss that opportunity to see their true nature. And then lots of people, most people, in fact, wake up in the bardo of becoming, the third bardo. And in the bardo of becoming, you think about that name, the bardo of becoming, as a bardo of missed opportunity. Because in the bardo of becoming, you are now a mental body, not a physical body. That's why when people see themselves, or they happen to see the spirit, or whatever you want to call it, of somebody, they might see them in the previous life form, the way they were in the previous life form. That's because the mental body still sees itself as it was in the previous life. So they may present that way because whatever you think, that's how you present. But then halfway through that bardo, you're already looking at the next body you're going to take on. And so your mental body becomes different. But what I want to say is, when you are in that bardo of becoming, it's really too late for the missed opportunities. And really, 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 if we come to death and we haven't studied all the available teachings. I was watching a little video, I always watch in the bathroom, a little video of this master in Nepal or somewhere teaching this, Western student that came to him about death and dying and what it meant. And he said, you know, in Buddhism, we have these beautiful death and dying teachings, clear, simple, telling you exactly, giving you all the directions. And it's really, really, really very, very difficult if you've never read them and you've never studied them. So when you come to that death time, that's the time that people are scared. They don't know what they're going to do. They think about lots of missed spiritual opportunities or whatever it is that they're thinking of, and it's too late. Because in the bardo of becoming, the only thing you can do, you can't change the karma. The only thing you can do is go into your Buddha nature. If you happen to know about it, you can meditate and you can try and get yourself to a pure land so that you don't get catapulted into the next place. But it's really important for all of you to understand that we don't wait. We don't wait until death. We've got all this at our fingertips. We can look at our lives, we can reflect, we can contemplate what we've done, and we really can change these things very, very much. So let's just do a little meditation, and I'll open it because I want to come to the spiritual opportunities as well, but I think it's really important. Let's just do a little meditation. So I want you just to come to this moment in your meditation posture with all the energy in your central channel. In the central channel, the energy just is. The past is gone, the future hasn't been made, and you're in this very, very moment. And just for tonight, I'd like you a lot to practice over the holiday period, just letting your thoughts come, doing your breathing, letting your thoughts and feelings come, letting them dissolve, no grasping, no holding, just allowing everything to be. And for tonight, I just want you to look at your life so far as though you had a death sentence on you, as though someone had said, you've got another 6 months to live. What are you going to do in these 6 months? What do you need? What do you want? And I want you to reflect on how you have pursued your samsaric pursuits, which never are going to end. And just reflect on missed opportunities, times when you didn't give your spiritual life the opportunity, when you weren't able to be present, when you missed many, many moments, or with people, when you feel certain regret or missed opportunities and what you could have done. And I want you just to reflect them completely and totally. Maybe all the times that you could have done spiritual things and you did earthly things instead. Sometimes it was necessary. Sometimes it was just for your own pleasure or laziness. Just go through the pages of your life as though you were coming to the end of it and you were just reflecting about your life, about the things you didn't do, that you wanted to. More important than that, about all the opportunities, open portal to unity with your true nature that you missed. How many people in your life might have died too soon for you? Do this a lot because it's really worth it. Because if you do, the universe will certainly give you lots of other opportunities to be able to restore the missed opportunity. It's hard, but I just want you to see tonight that there are relative missed opportunities. I've called that category 1, which might not matter much either way spiritually, okay? There are things in your life that might not matter. Then there are some opportunities in our relative dreamlike movie world that seem to be related to samsara, but looking deeply, they may have a direct bearing on our spiritual path. Like we went to a place and met someone, we weren't supposed to go to a place, and we met someone who became so important, which we can only see after the event, even though it was an ordinary event. And then there are opportunities, if we really look at them, that we take those opportunities. It's very interesting because many times over the years that I've been teaching big groups of people and things like that, someone's come and said, you know, I'm so glad I came tonight because what you said was really for me. And I went, I'm so glad. I had no idea that it was for you. But what's interesting for me is that suddenly I have lots of people that come and then suddenly they stop coming to groups and they stop coming to lectures. And then often in the beginning, after a certain amount of time, I'll text them, hi, have you dropped off the planet or something like that, you know? And then I'll get too busy at work right now, so many obstacles in my path, so many maybes, external obstacles come from our internal minds. This year has been for me and my family. And if somebody says to me, you know what, Melanie, I don't like your teaching and I'm going elsewhere, I will be perfectly happy. Okay, I'll be really perfectly happy that they're still going on with their spiritual path. But it's too much to hear people's excuses for not coming and being involved in samsara. We don't know. We don't know if one of the days that we miss might have been the day that we got something that was so important that was going to change our whole lives. And I know many times when I've decided to go on a journey or whatever the case is, it's amazing. Kim, are you still here or have you been bumped off? Are you here, Kim? Because she just went to Sammy Ling and I want to know what your opportunity was like. Don't know if she's still here or she's been bumped off, I'm not sure. Okay, but when we have a chance, we really do need to go and do need to explore these things, because otherwise it's too late. And many times we do miss things that we shouldn't have missed, and they have a direct bearing on what we are doing. So I want to come to the last category, which is the ultimate category. But before I do, maybe somebody wants to bring up something, anything that you want to say.
Mel?
Yes, please, Mel.
Just talking about the busyness, I came across something that I thought was so apt. It just said, you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes a day. Unless you're too busy, then you should sit for an hour.
I've got one with a dog there, and it says, here's the dog meditating, and it's got something of that nature. It's so nice. I agree.
Because the point if you're too busy. But also about opportunities, I've found that there have been times when I haven't sort of said something to someone that I wanted to say. And I've thought about it, and nearly every single time that person or that couple appears, once in an airport, and I was able to express exactly what I wanted to. So I think if you have the desire, the people do appear and you get another chance.
They do. I agree with you. And that's called setting the causes in motion. That's called setting the causes in motion, which is in motion, because that's really important. We don't realize that our minds are like cameras, they're like videos, they're like everything. We can set those causes in motion. If you really want to do something and you really want to apologize and you really want to say something to people, you'll get that chance. Trust me, somewhere in the weirdest places ever. You meet the funniest people. You're in these places and you meet people and it's just unbelievable. They know someone else. And when you look deeply, you realize that was an opportunity. So I agree, Mimi, and thank you for that. That's really interesting. Anyone else? And Kathy,
Mel?
Yes, please, Karen.
Yeah, it's just very simply, I always say the opportunity's there the whole time. You know, if you break your leg, you suddenly notice so many other people with broken legs, but they were always there. There's nothing more to be said than that.
No, but
it's
that's
there.
Yeah, and the opportunity for coming to your spiritual nature is there 24/7. So I agree with you.
It's just a way to sort of like make it tangible.
Yeah, and when you have a tragedy, I mean, it's so amazing. When I see the people who have tragedies later on in their lives, you know, not during the tragedy, not straight after the tragedy, but much later, they have such an incredible understanding of what an opportunity that tragedy was. I was thinking, I saw in the paper that what was that airplane called again? The Helderberg. In the Helderberg accident, I saw that it was the anniversary of the Helderberg airplane, which they never came to know exactly what happened with that, or whether there was a bomb or whatever the case was. But I counseled a whole lot of people from that aeroplane who'd lost very close people to them. And it's so interesting, when I saw it in the paper, this anniversary, I was thinking of all the people whose lives changed completely from that terrible accident and what happened to them. And when you see what happens to them later on in life, you actually can put the puzzle together and you see that that terrible tragedy was the most amazing opportunity for people. But we can't see it at the time, unfortunately. As you just said, it's there all the time, but we can't see it until we're in that situation. And I'm sure, Kathy, now you've met millions of people who've got cancers and who are having treatments, and you wouldn't have, that's what Karen's point is, and you wouldn't have woken up to them if you hadn't have had it yourself. So we should be very happy with those blessings. So let's just come to this last category, the ultimate category, when a spiritual opportunity fully, openly given comes to us and we didn't take it. Now, I can't read you all the stories about what happened. I'm going to read you a few that confirmed something you missed is never given again for lifetimes. Now, I tell you my own story, which is really heartbreaking to me, because that's become one of the most important things in all my practices, is the mandala of the 100 peaceful and wrathful deities, because that's the mandala in your heart that you will meet at death in the second bardo. So when I was with Tai Situ quite a long time ago, I said to him that one day, and I've told you the story, but it's important to tell it here. I said to him the one day, Rinpoche, would you teach us on the peaceful and wrathful deities, the 100 deities? Now, when I asked the question, it did not come from me. If I asked him the question now, it would come from me, because I've studied it, practiced, done everything that I possibly can with that mandala of the 100 deities. But when I asked the question, I had no idea. I knew what I was asking, but I had no idea what I was really asking. And when I said to him, would you teach it, Rinpoche? He said to me, oh, yes, I'll do it over 5 years. That's what he told me. I'll do it over 5 years. I'll give that empowerments and teaching. He said, but you must bring a group from South Africa. You must bring a group from South Africa to come and do it. And I brought a few groups before, and the trials and tribulations of the groups, and I didn't know what I was really asking for. So I said, oh no, Rinpoche, I don't want to bring a group. I just want to come myself. Maybe other people will do it. It was, I can bite my tongue for actually saying that. Because what he did afterwards was, he said, no, you must do it. He said, you really, really must do it. And I said, but I don't want to bring a group. I didn't know how urgent it was inside me. Anyway, he said, as I was going out of that interview, he said to me, it's really important. And I went out and I met Jumper Dorje, who does all the teachings there. And I said, this is what he offered. So he took me by my shoulders and he said, are you crazy, Melanie? Are you crazy? We've all been waiting for that teaching for years and years and years. And he said, I'll get the people for you in 2 weeks. You don't have to bring anyone from South Africa. So as soon as I could make another appointment, I went back to Rinpoche and I said to him, I've made a terrible mistake. I said to him, I will bring a group easily. And everybody shouted at me outside, just please, will you give that teaching? And he said to me, okay. And he said to me, but I won't do it this year. I'll only start And I think he said, not the next year, he'll start the year after, or he'd start the next year. And I said, fine, Rinpoche, thank you very, very much. And off I went. And the next year, he got sick. And the year after was COVID. And the year after was COVID. And this is the next year. And I've heard nothing more about it. And when I look, because I really, really want that teaching now, more than ever before, because in the intervening years, I really came to understand what that teaching really was about. And I really wanted, if he said he was giving it, as old as I'm getting, I would go for 5 years to India to get that empowerment and to get the teaching. But he hasn't offered it. And maybe he won't in my lifetime. What I'm trying to say to you is, never any of you ever do that. If a question comes to you from your higher mind, from something you don't really know and understand, you need to have faith in that situation. I'm probably never going to get this teaching in this lifetime. And it's a great pity and a great missed opportunity. And there's nothing more I can do about it. I do often ask him in my sleep state, I say, Rinpoche, please don't forget about that teaching I asked you and hope that he'll hear. But I miss the chance. Now, some of you might say, yeah, but if COVID had come, you wouldn't have got it anyway. But the thing is, it's really, really important to understand these things very, very clearly. And Dajjal Rinpoche, I just want to give you his little story because it's really a very interesting story what happened to him. He used to have dreams and visions of what and where he needed to go and retrieve teachings from a very young age. And he had such a deep relationship with Guru Rinpoche that when Guru Rinpoche asked him to go again into embodiment, he said, oh no, don't make me go into embodiment. And Guru Rinpoche said to him, you have X amount of disciples, and they all need to attain the rainbow body in this life. And you are the only one that can do it. You need to go back into embodiment. And so that's how he was. And then he tells all the stories of what happened to him. One story at 18, where he fell asleep at the base of a cliff, and a dakini appeared to him, which happened all the time to him, lucky man. Well, he was at that level. A dakini appeared to him and told him where to go to find a particular stone statue of a wrathful guardian deity. When he awoke, he found he was right on the spot on this cliff with a rock. And he went and he struck the rock, and out came this amazing stone statue, 5 fingers width in height, which he carried home and showed to his venerable Lama first. And his venerable Lama said, it was a spirit stone of a god demon, whatever that might mean. And he also showed it to his parents. He was only 18 at the time. And they insisted, both of them, that he return it to a hiding place, which he did. But after he returned it, he had another dream, and in which another dakini came and scolded him for having lost an auspicious opportunity. And she said, due to following bad advice, instead of relying on your own intuition, you took a jewel in your hand, then a demon gave you an incorrect prediction, and you lost the auspicious connection to gain 100 statues from this point on. And she said to him, abandon pure contact of that sort. I thought that was a very, very interesting story. And he said at 23, he had a dream and dreams throughout his life. And in this dream, another dakini came to him, and this is what he was told. tomorrow, in the place you will be, whatever auspicious connections occur, if you act according to them, it is certain that the welfare of beings will ensue. My child, look at what transpires and consider it. Such an interesting prediction. What would you do if you got that? It's very, very, very interesting. And all these great masters, when Patrul Rinpoche met his guru, Dilgo Khyentse, and he'd been drinking Chan, and Patrul Rinpoche said in his mind, oh my goodness, my master's been drinking, he's been drinking, and I think he's drunk. Then Dilgo Khyentse took him and threw him across the room, and he called him, you old dog, and he spat on him and he threw stones on him, and Patrul Rinpoche was standing in absolute amazement, and he walked off, calling him an old dog. And at that moment, Patrul Rinpoche sat up and he realized he'd been given one of the greatest transmissions of his whole life, and he began to meditate. And after that, he signed a lot of things, old dog, from that experience. But that experience was one of his most wakeful, one of the times when his true nature of mind was pointed out to him. So what do you think of all of this? What do you feel about all of this? I just want to make one more point, and then I really will open it to all of you. But it's really, really interesting to know when you look at all of these things that, just let me get that page, that Dajjum Rinpoche, I think it was him that said that, no, Dajjum Lingpa, who was his previous lifetime, said, if phenomena were established as truly existent, not like another deluded movie scene, if they were truly existent, all your experiences, all your pains, all your sufferings, all your efforts, if they were truly existent, then they would need to be replete with all the 7 Vajra qualities. And he lists them. These are the Vajra qualities. They need to be invulnerable, indestructible, real, incorruptible, stable, totally unobstructable, and totally invincible. And he says if they don't even have one of these qualities, they're just like a dream, a delusive experience. So until these delusive appearances dissolve into the absolute space of phenomena, whatever coarse or subtle, positive and negative actions you commit will add to your rebirths in this world of samsara until their fully matured results are exhausted. So external well-being will certainly not be achieved. So that's a lot to digest. Anyone want to say anything? Do you think you've had times in your life where you've been given a spiritual opportunity and haven't seen it? I've had a few. You have, Kath? Anyone else? Then I'm going to, if nobody wants to talk, I'm just going to give you from Longchenpa's teachings on the impermanence of life. He said, breathing gently, people enjoy their slumber, but between one breath and the next, there is no guarantee that death will not slip in. To wake up in good health is an event which truly deserves to be considered miraculous, a miraculous opportunity, yet we take it completely for granted. Do you know that the masters, when they go to sleep, these very big masters, they take all their cups, their teacup and everything in their bowl, and they turn it upside down because they're not sure they're going to wake up in the morning. How do we know we're going to wake up in the morning? Are we sure? Does anyone want to say anything? Otherwise, I'm giving you two little stories to end our year's teaching. But anybody want to say anything? Because I've given you a lot. I want you to just see the difference between the samsaric opportunities and the spiritual opportunities, even though the samsaric might well be spiritual opportunities. But I think that this topic is so vital. I think we've got to wake up and see every minute of our lives as the most amazing opportunity. Sorry, I would like to say something, but on the train. Okay. I know you got a lot to say tonight, but you can't. Okay. Don't worry about it. Anyone else? I know you can't talk. She's on the train.
Well, I think it's just also like you just need to like go be kind to yourself and go little by little as well. I know that we want to shoot the lights out, but like a 1% a day adds up a lot over time, and like do small kindnesses and small behaviors helps you to be in alignment with the cosmic energy and the right energies and the right vibrational stuff, and like it brings you in line with the teaching. So it doesn't have to be momentous stuff, but like the small kindnesses creates bigger opportunities for bigger stuff. But
I'm
like
very happy to hear all your compassion coming out, Eugene, because what you say is, Melanie, don't be hard on people, be gentle, be kind, be soft, let them go 1%. Taisitu, he's renowned for it. He says, if you improve 1% in this lifetime, that's a lot. And I go, Rinpoche, you got to be joking. 1%.
Yeah, but you see, your vessel is made of titanium steel. Other people's are like a co-lander, so they still need to plug the holes a little bit.
You know what? I agree with you, but it is funny because don't you have to really give your most prime motivation to other people? I mean, mustn't it always be a little push, a little nudge, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We've got to be kind to ourselves. That's why I'm taking a long break, because it takes a lot of energy to bring new material and exciting stuff to you. And I really try to do that to the best of my ability. But
well, if you don't throw like your relatives with a drumstick, I think you've won over the Christmas season. So like just try the small stuff.
I know, but you know what? You're absolutely right. Because this year, as much as I'm taking a lot of time out now and finishing counseling and everything, but it's the most unbelievable thing. I cannot find a single period of 5 days to go off on a retreat. It just isn't happening. There are people coming from overseas all the time. So I'm not getting my own space. And when I was doing this lecture, I had to ask myself, so what is the reason that for the first time in your life, you are ending everything today, tomorrow, at the end of this year, the beginning of December, and you've got no space to go and do your own retreat? So I had to answer that question. And the answer to that question had to be because every moment of your life has to be a spiritual opportunity. So whoever's here And whoever's around, I need to keep that nature of mind in control all the time so that I never lose sight of it, even if I can't find a time to go on any long retreats or anything for myself. It's really, really important for all of us that during this period of time, we don't just say, well, now there's nothing spiritually happening. Well, now the prayers are finished, I'm not coming. It's so important that we don't miss that opportunity in our life. And I agree with you, Eugene. I'm much kinder to people than some of the tough masters are. Trust me, they will tell it to you straight like it is. Tacitu tells it to you straight like it is. And sometimes it's hard. It's really, really hard. But sometimes later on, we wake up and we say, that was an amazing chance. That was really an amazing chance. And it's really important. So then I'm going to end with two little stories, which I really think are wonderful about earthly opportunity and spiritual opportunity. So Thomas Edison's laboratory was virtually destroyed by fire in December 1914. Although the damage exceeded $2 million in those days, that was a lot. The buildings were only insured for $238,000 because they were made of concrete and thought to be fireproof. Much of Edison's life's work went up in spectacular flames that December night. At the height of the fire, Edison's 24-year-old son, Charles, frantically searched for his father among the smoke and debris. He finally found him, calmly watching the scene, his face glowing in the reflection, his white hair blowing in the wind. My heart ached for him, said Charles. He was 67, no longer a young man. In those days, 67 was not a young man, okay? And everything was going up in flames. When he saw me, he shouted, Charles, where's your mother? When I told him I didn't know, he said, find her, bring her here. She'll never see anything like this as long as she lives. The next morning, Edison looked at the ruins and said, there is great value in disaster. All our mistakes are burnt up. Thank God we can start anew. 3 weeks after the fire, Edison managed to deliver his first phonograph. I thought that was a wonderful story. And I remember meeting somebody once at the shops who told me their whole house had been burnt down. And she said she watched it. They took what they could out of the house and the whole house burned down. And she actually said to me, you know, Melanie, from coming to your teaching, she came to me for a long time and she said, from coming to your teaching, I realized everything was impermanent. And as they couldn't stop this fire, she said, I felt a strange sense of peace. I felt like all the things I'd attached to were taken from me at that moment in time with the fire. And I was okay with it. I was very proud of her. I gave her a kiss in the shops when she told me this story. Really an amazing story. So this last one, I've told you this story also before, but it's really very relevant to end the year. The meditation teacher, Larry Rosenberg, went to practice with the Zen master, Sealing Jean in Korea. During the journey, he undertook a pilgrimage to other masters and temples, and while traveling on a remote road, he came across a particular elegant Buddhist shrine at the base of a mountain. Next to it was a sign, the way to the most beautiful Buddha in all Korea, and an arrow pointing to the 1,000-step path up the mountain. Larry decided to climb, hiking up the steps till he reached the top. The view was breathtaking in every direction. The simple Zen pagoda matched the elegance of the one below. But in the place of the Buddha on the altar, there was nothing, just empty space and the gorgeous green hill vista beyond. Going closer at the empty altar was a plaque that read, if you can't see the Buddha here, you'd better go down and practice some more. Okay, so that's my last story for you, because don't attach to all the incidents and all the people and all your work and all your things. You have to do it. It's your responsibility karmically, but it's all temporary, transient, delusional, and we have to go past that and find something very deep inside us. And that is the opportunity, open portal to unity that we really, really need to never miss. So I really wish you all a beautiful holiday period. I hope that you'll do a lot of contemplation, a lot of meditation, a lot of watching, lots of videos. You can watch mine, you can watch lots of them. They're really beautiful ones. Tulku Urgent Rinpoche has many, Dilgo Kiensi has many. There are many, many, many things you can watch and many things you can look at. And don't lose that, even if you're going on holiday. And I really wish you all in my prayers. Every single day when I do my prayers, I always say, all the people that come to the talks, I see you as my spiritual family. And I really thank you very, very much for being there, because you're making me search very deeply in myself. And that is so important to me. I always need to know that from my Buddha nature, something fresh can come through, even if I use a couple of things that I've used before when I see they're relevant. But basically, I'm really ready to do a lot of stuff next year with a lot of you. And I hope that I will see you all next year and that we can have another beautiful year together. And maybe even, please look out, because Leah, Wala is coming to South Africa. She's going to stay with me. She's coming on the 5th, which is Monday. And then we're probably going to go to the center. I'm going to try and get her to Randburg Center on the Tuesday. And I will send it on my broadcast group for those of you who are around. If you can come and join, that'll be lovely, because I really want to hear what else we can do in charitable stuff while she's here. So that'll be wonderful. But in the meantime, I really dedicate all the teachings, such a pleasure, Viam. I dedicate all the teachings to all sentient beings who are suffering and really having a hard time. And I really hope that everybody during this holiday period will have enough warmth, that the power will be there in Ukraine, in all the places that are really short of power and everything. And let's dedicate all of our practices through the virtue of this goodness. May we obtain omniscience and overcome all adversity, thereupon liberating beings from the, thereafter, once all harmful enemies have been defeated, may all beings be liberated from the ocean of existence, stirred by the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Sonam die tamche zikani, tople nepe dranam tamche, jega nachi baladropaye, sipe sole droa warsho. Jampal Pawo Jeta Jimpo Tang Kuntu Zangpo Deyang Dezende Deda Kunji Jesu Da Lukjing Gewa Deda Tamchu Raptu No Sangji Kusum Nepe Jinlaptang Joni Minja Dimpe Jinlaptang Gendun Mishe Dumpe Jinlapti Jita Noa Munab Duparsho Changshup Semni Rinpoche Maje Panam Jeju Chepa Nampa Me Patang Kongne Kongdu Pelwar Sho. We had to have a nice